Hey everybody, it's Bill with the Edge of Eternity. Thanks for watching tonight. I'm going to do a little test flare on a brake line here. You may remember a month or so ago I've been working on my brakes and I kind of went through, double checked all the different functions of the master cylinder, made sure all the ports were clean and open. I didn't record this, but I took the metering valve and the diverter valve off and cleaned them and made sure everything was working right and made sure the shuttle valve was working and all that, and the diverter valve. Now these are called a proportional valve, and I had been calling it that until I realized that there were no proportional valves until 1971. And this is a 1969 Camaro, and you know, so many braking systems I've seen through the years did not have this little metering valve. And I knew it had to be here, but I didn't know why it was there. Well, I did a little research and found out. I'll get you in here a little bit closer so you can take a look at what this is. Okay, the 69 Z28 that I have has power brakes. Here's the booster, master cylinder. Here's the metering valve I just mentioned to you. And here is the diverter valve. Let's see if I can get a decent shot of that right here. Okay. There, that's a little bit better. Kind of see what that looks like. I re-cadmium plated these also. Actually, it's not plating, it's a paint system you can buy. So I'm working on all of this, and I've got everything pretty much hooked back up, and I've been doing some new brake lines, and so I wanted to do a little flare for you. So this is the last piece of the puzzle, and on an earlier video that I did, I made this off the car and knew that I would be trimming this, and I already had a fitting on there, the flare nut on here, but I cut it off and to size, and now I'm going to be able to fit it here onto the diverter valve. So, but what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to do a little sample flare for you on this piece. This is what I cut off. I had probably, I don't know, 3 inches of line that already had a double flare on this end. We're just going to simulate that and do one on this end so you can see how it works. Now, there's one other thing. I went to Harbor Freight to look at their Pittsburgh double flare kit, and I'll open this up for you. And the reason I went is I had another double flare kit and I couldn't find it. That's right here. Also from Harbor Freight. They're both Pittsburgh flare kits. I'm sure this one was a little less expensive than this one because I've had it, you know, I've had this for a long time, and I just couldn't locate it when I needed it. So when I came home to find a good spot to put this one in, guess where I found this one? Forget about that. So when I look at them and the quality and the material, I mean, I see a couple differences. These wing nuts are different. They're a little more maybe heavy duty here, but everything else where the work happens looks to be about the same. The only difference is this one covers a larger variety of sizes. It goes up to a 5/8 double flare. I think this might be a good giveaway. Let me know in the comments if you think you could use one of these, and I'll take the names that say, yeah, I would be interested in that, and put them in a hat, and we'll have a drawing and send this out to somebody. But tonight I'm going to use this one, and let's see how it goes. Not really exactly what I'd say cold in Michigan, but it's cooling off, so I thought I'd wear my Ice Spider Garage hat for this video. Why? Well, I like it, and I was sick all day, and I spent all day in bed, and I got bedhead. So I didn't want to expose you to that. Okay, let's carry on. Now, I've already cut this. Okay, I've already cut this. I've already taken my tool. You want to make sure you don't have any burrs on the end of the tubing that you're flaring. And so most of your pipe cutters like this, tubing cutters, will come with this little burring tool here. and you just put it in the end and rotate it around, and it cleans it off. And you want to make sure there's no burrs inside, and you don't want any copper burrs in your brake line, so you just got to be careful and make sure that's kept good and clean. But I've already done that, so that's just FYI. Now, I would normally do this in the vise because it's a whole lot easier to hold on to and everything, but not in this case. Tonight we're going to do it right here on the by hand, or in hand I should say. Pull this out all the way. Drop it on the floor just like that. When you're old, this is the stuff that aggravates you, getting up and down off the floor. But I still recommend getting old. Okay, we're working with 3/16 line here. So I'm going to put this in like this and just get this started. We're not going to clamp it down all the way yet. Okay, I'm going to bring this side down. The reason we don't want to clamp it all the way yet is because we want to adjust the height. Since this is 3/16, I'm going to grab the 3/16 die. I don't know if you'll be able to read it because it's not highlighted or anything, but this is what the die looks like. Okay, there's a little stem on the back side. And what we want to do is just hold this against the tool, and we want to, I'm gonna have to loosen that up a bit. We want to set the height of the tube to the height of the tool. Okay, there's two surfaces on this tool. You want to go to the first surface, and that's what we're going to do here. So once I tighten this up, I'll show you. Hopefully that comes through for you clearly enough. But the height of this end of the tube is to the first step on the flare tool. Okay? Yeah, it looks good. Okay. Now, you want to make these things tight, but not too tight, right? Because you don't want to collapse the brake line. Copper is very soft. This is some type of copper material. May have aluminum in it and, you know, soft metals. And so we want to be careful with it. Now, we take our die, and we put the die in this. The back of the die has got a little bit of a flare shape. Very hard to see, but there's a little flare in there, okay? And we take the stem and we drop it into the end of the tube, okay? See that? How it just, the stem, drop it in the tube, just like that. Now I'm going to get the, I'll call it the press, and open it up a bit. There we go again, dropping something. They leave that, you know, these are usually formed on each end, so it can't fall through the hole. But they do that because I just used a wrench to refund that a little bit. I didn't want to over tighten it, but I wanted to snug it up good. You can pull this out and use it for that purpose. All right. So slide this in here like this, and I'm going to work it down until we have pressure. Okay. Want to double check, make sure that looks nice and straight, and so we're not coming down on some funny angle. Okay. This is the press, this is the die, and this is the tube, is the part we're forming. So let's go ahead and start cranking that down. This doesn't take much force, Okay, so you may be very strong. That's wonderful. Don't overdo it. Okay. You'll kind of feel that when it bottoms out. Hopefully you can see that, what it looks like. That's the first part of the flare. Now I'm going to remove the press tool. I'm going to remove the die and show you what the form looks like at this stage. We're going to call this the preforms, just like in making a body panel. Most of the time there's a preform operation, like on a door or a roof, a hood, any kind of a closure panel like that. They require like a preform operation, and then they go through restrikes and flanging tools and things like that. This would be called the preform. See what it looks like? Okay. After you get the preform, put the press tool back in like this. You center the press tool on the end of the tube, which I'll show you here once I get this snugged up. Okay, so now the preform is complete, and we have the flare that's going to be put in by the press tool itself. See that angle? That's the angle that the flare needs to be at. See here. This angle right here. So now I'm going to take it. Usually about maybe 3/4 of a turn around. As soon as you start getting real resistance, okay? Now that's it. I'm going to undo this. Put the tool back in here and loosen these. That's all there is to it. Now there's one thing I always like to mention on these that I find important, and that is look at the copper before you just go and put it on your car, because I mentioned this material is very soft, and you'll be able to see some of the, you'll be able to see some of the scoring on the tubing that lead up to the flare. And it's not inside, it shouldn't be a problem, but I always like to take a file or some emery cloth and just clean that off a little bit. So now I'm going to take it and I am going to just see how the size feels when I put it in the part. You can tell pretty readily if it's fitting well, and that's not moving at all. So I'm very satisfied with that. Visually, it looks good. So that's what we call a double flare. Used in automotive a lot on brake lines, but it can be used in fuel lines and different sorts of things like that. Plumbers use them. You can use flares on things like air conditioning lines, power steering lines, things like that that require a very good hydraulic seal, something that's going to be able to withstand pressure and hold and contain the hydraulic fluid. All right, next part I will be going ahead and flaring the line under the hood.